Hey, what's up everybody? Pete with Auto Repair Tips. A few videos back, I was talking about the Suburban my sister owned that went to the dealership. I'm not gonna call out any dealerships, but this group just came in and bought out a bunch of dealerships in the local area. And this is the vehicle that she brought there for an oil change. She picked it up, brought it to her house, and the engine started clinking and clanking and knocking. So she had it towed back to the dealer. Come to find out, they didn't put any oil in the car. So they turned around and told her that now she needed an engine. $13,000 for an engine. That's just absolutely insane. They wouldn't do anything for her. They contacted General Motors, went through all the process. They said they'll take like 10 or 15% off the price. Long story short is, she pulled it from there, brought it here, and we're gonna throw an engine in this thing. My body guy, Bob, is gonna go ahead and take the front end off the car. Whenever I do engines on these bigger vehicles like this Suburban, I've seen people try to take the engine out without taking out the headlights and the bumper and all the grill area, but it just makes it a cleaner job and a nicer job when you do that. So this is part one on a series of videos on taking an engine out of a 2015 Suburban with 60,000 miles. So Bobby just finished removing all the front end parts. Next on the list is go ahead and get all the fluids out, including the Freon. We'll get the radiator out, the condenser, the box, the radiator fill, the battery, and the ECM. I think the next thing I'm gonna do is get it up in the air, get the coolant drained out of it, the oil drained out of it. We'll lower it back down, and I'll suck all the Freon out. So I'm trying to focus on the oil coming out. I probably should have saved it because that was the biggest issue, but this oil, it looks milky and it's got a funny smell to it. I don't know. Guess if I'd have thought about it to begin with, I probably should have saved at least maybe a quart of it or something. Next, I'm gonna get my body guy to take off both splash shields. It's just easier to reach this way than it is reaching down. And there's only a handful of clips holding it on anyway, so it's not that big a deal. All right, next up on the list is I'm gonna go ahead and get the radiator and the condenser out. I had to leave early Friday. My daughter had a volleyball tournament, so we went out of town for the weekend. They didn't place, but they did really good. Proud of all of them girls. But while I was gone, my guy went ahead and took all the Freon out. The coolant is all drained out, so let's go ahead and get this removed. It looks to me like on this condenser, you have not only do you have Freon going through it, you have transmission fluid and oil going through it. But I'm going to take it out as an assembly of the radiator fan shroud, the radiator, and the condenser. We'll start by removing the clips on this one here. All right, let me get it up in the air and get the lower radiator hose off now. You drain or how neat you try to be, always seems to make a mess. Alright, while I got it up in the air, go ahead and unbolt this AC line. So on the bottom radiator hose, there's two clips that hold that hose to the radiator. It means we're taking it as an assembly. You got it up in the air, you need to go ahead and undo these clips. So this one and this one are the transmission lines, and these two are the oil lines. Let's go ahead and lower it back down, and let's see what's next. On all these metal lines coming from the radiator and the oil cooler, these are the clips that hold it in. Just make sure, don't lose them. I'm sure you can buy them, but it's trying to get them sometimes a pain in the ass. And a lot of times they're different sizes, just like these were. Should just pop on out. I'll say they should pop on out. Oh, you motherfucker. That hurt. What I did was, I did a couple of these clips right here so I could get this laid down a little bit better. Alright. One assembly on the ground. So just a habit I've always gotten into, even though I have all the service data in the world in these vehicles, I always just take a second and I snap a few pictures, just kind of the layout, so I can see how things went. You'd be surprised how many times it's come in handy. I don't care how good a mechanic you are or how long you've been doing it, this is always a safe bet. Alright, this box should just pop out. Shouldn't be really nothing holding it in. Sent some pictures to my sister and her husband and showed them what the car looks like now. I don't think they were expecting to see the whole front end off the car, but you have to do sometimes. I guess you could fight it if you wanted to and not have to worry about taking all this apart, but to me this is just a lot easier doing it like this. Yeah. She got a little bit of exhaust plate noise. I can't, it's like in a converter, but it's so minute. And the brakes, she's got half a life left. Ah, you dog. Come on. Alright, I'm not one to work at a bunch of mess. So I'm going to hold up a second and get some of this cleaned up a little bit. And then we'll continue on. We're going to come down and get the battery out of it. And unhook some of the wiring right here. because we're going to remove that harness out of the way and lay it to the side. So let me get some of this mess up first. Go ahead and take off some of these AC lines so we don't take any chances on bending them or doing something dumb. So we're still messing with that AC compressor. I'm going to try to, something's got it on the back side, and being I'm taking the engine out, I'm probably going to just try to take this bracket and move it out of the way so you can get you a little better rather than trying to fight it. Feel it almost. It's like a little pin's got to be knocked in. Something right here. Can't really tell, but I think it'd be a lot easier just to take that bracket out. So we'll get the alternator out of the way next. So we're going back with a Jasper engine, and the install kit, I got that also. But I'm sure it's not going to come with things like tensioners and stuff like that. I will go back with them, but they will be from the factory. I'm not going to pay aftermarket on this car. Stuff's kind of hard to get to once it's there, and I don't trust aftermarket. It's easier to do the right stuff right now, and knowing my sister, she's going to want the right stuff. knocking you guys all over the place, ain't I? Things aren't too brittle. They're just starting to get a little brittle, but they're not too bad, you know. Only thing busted so far, thermostat housing, this little tit on top here, little pee hole. That's the only thing that broke so far. The intake bolts are held on with a 10. To get the back intake bolt, it's easier if you take the cool off. But one intake is off. So I'm not going to be stuffing anything in the intake because we're getting a new engine. Woo-hoo. Some good looking shit there. First thing we do is go ahead and start unplugging the harnesses, and we're going to lay everything this way. The injectors I'm going to leave in there because they unplug right there and it'll come out just fine with that, I believe, in the car. I don't think we need to replace any of those. So think about this, we haven't even tackled anything on the bottom side. We're still been screwing with stuff on the top side. Looks like all this is just laid that way. This is a ground strap right here. At this point I got everything pretty much tore down on the top half. I'm going to start getting some of the electrical out of here. I'm going to go ahead and get the water pump housing out of my way. You probably don't need to do that. I'm just going to do it because the way this wiring is tucked up underneath here, I just want to make sure I don't mess nothing up. Here's your pro tip for the day. When I'm doing engine jobs, I'll take off a unit, I'll leave all the nuts and bolts where they go. That way everything gets put back exactly where it belongs, even down to brackets, little bolts that hold on brackets. I do 90% of everything like that on these engine jobs. It saves on any guesswork. Don't need that. So I got the last of the stuff off the car I wanted to get off. I took out that air pump that was sitting here. Service data said I need to remove the computer. I think I can leave it where it is. I don't think it's going to get affected none because it looks to me like it should slide out like this without even messing with that right here. This harness here, I'm going to leave it like this for right now. And then when I lower the tranny to get the bolts out, I'm going to take this dipstick out and I'm going to tuck this wire all tied up into here. I think we'll be all right like that. Everything else looks pretty clear. I don't really see anything anywhere else. My next thing is I'm going to get out the starter, remove the electrical wiring on this side right here, so I can lay it down on the side. When I get that done, I'll put the transmission jack here. I'll remove this mount. We'll remove the exhaust system out of the way, all the way. I'll lower down the transmission and get all the bell housing bolts. I believe there's only 3 converter bolts in this. I have to check service data, but I'm pretty sure it's just 3. So what I'm gonna do now is go ahead and disconnect the 402 sensors. There's 2 on the right bank and there's 2 on the left bank. And after I do that, there's a few electrical connectors. I'm not sure if you can see if they're right back up in there. It'll just make it easier to get to those. And then we're on the home stretch. Engine will be coming out. The exhaust bolts are 15. We'll beef the gun up a little bit. Hey Bobby. Yeah. I don't want this to fall on my head. Give me a hand. What do you want me to do? Hold the back part of the gun right here. Is it hot? You try to get it down. So how many monkeys does it take to take an exhaust out? Alright, the only thing left to get off should be 6 motor mount bolts. But I believe everything should be out of the way. We'll see in a minute. Alright, let's hold on, it's already kind of, I may go underneath there with a pry bar, I think. You kind of start wiggling and big lines connected to it, feet. No, everything should be loose. It's just coming up with it when it's on the tree, I think. Shake it again. I'm going to go back down a little bit. Let me get switch sides. These are coming out with it, right? Right. Good. Maximum to you. It's a wire harness caught on the top. I got to get the one ground off right here, it looks like. And that's just stuck. Tin. Up. Hold on a second. Are you going to tear it apart? Huh? Come on now. I said, are you going to tear it apart? Go up. Go up, go up, go up. I'm going to just transfer the stuff. Top up there. Just look and see real quick. Nah, heck no. Give a shit. Clear? Yeah. Nothing. I went and read through the whole thing again from the service data. They missed nothing. Other than I put it back down, got a screwdriver to beat the fuck out of it. Right here, it's like it was glued, like it had some kind of sealant on it or something. And it had to knock through it. Smile. Wave at the camera. Alright, we got the engine out. It's up on its stand. It's time to start swapping over some parts. First thing I'm going to do is I went ahead and moved that ground wire. Next thing I'm going to do is pop off the valve covers and get them installed. Now we'll go ahead and get the new gasket on and get it set on. Now I got the new valve cover gasket installed. We'll go ahead and install the bolts. And once we get this installed, it's just a rinse and repeat for the right side. I tell you, I do like Jasper's install kit. You get everything you need in one package. And just word to the wise, if you're gonna put an engine in from Jasper, definitely go with the install kit. Don't take any shortcuts. It's like another $400 or $500 probably to do it, and it is well worth the money. All right, let me get some torque specs on these. Get those torqued down, because that's something you want to do along your whole process when you're doing an engine. Things like intakes and exhausts, you definitely want to torque them down. You don't want to have to go back and do it a second time when it's in the car because you didn't do it correctly the first time. When you're installing the existing exhaust manifold to a new cylinder head, it's 20 foot-pounds. If you're going back on your old cylinder head, it's 17 foot-pounds. So we got that torqued down to where it needs to be. We'll get the heat shit on there, and it's a rinse and repeat for the left side. So we're swapping out the flywheel. A lot of times it don't really call for it, but I always go back with a little bit of blue Loctite on these bolts just for safety purposes. I just don't want them backing out ever, you know. You can definitely hit them with the impact, but just for cautious, always get a few turns on them just to make sure the threads are starting on there straight, because you're going into the crank if you didn't know that. And then you don't want to take any chances of cross-threading it going into the crank, because if that happens, you got to pull the crank out and replace it. All right, we got the new engine in place. I'm going to go ahead and remove the chains here, and we're going to raise it up, and it's basically just reverse procedure in how we took it out. So hopefully the next time you see me, we'll be starting it. All right, this job is done. But remember this, if you ever get your oil changed at a dealership, a quick lube, any of those places like that, you do have the right to see that dipstick when they're done to make sure that oil is full. If they'd have done that, this would have never happened. All right, guys, I appreciate you watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Catch you later.